All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. This is a Tuesday, February 3rd evening or, night, wherever you are in the world, day. Today was a big day in the world of entertainment as the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, Robert Iger, otherwise known as Bob Iger, has now stepped down officially and retired. This is a massive change coming to the Walt Disney Company and the entire entertainment industry as a whole. We have got some people dropping in. Hello everybody. Hi there. Thank you for coming in and joining. I hope you will engage in this discussion. Now, I'm going to preface this. I'm going to give you some of my insights. I'm going to read some articles, going to give you some details. Just letting you know, just to start off the bat, just for all of you who have joined, please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Reza Hyder on YouTube. I would like to do future live streams over there in the future, in the coming weeks and months to come, and long term. That is where I would ideally like to do live streams. Maybe occasionally I'll come on and pop on and do some here on Instagram as well. But hello there. Thank you so much for dropping in. But I really do want to talk about this tonight, and I am very pleased that I have already got quite a few of you here. So without further ado, let's dig into it. Okay, so yesterday morning was Disney's Q1 fiscal quarterly earnings report, and it because Disney's fiscal year ends in September, not in the standard calendar year of December. So Disney's Q1 actually, it ends in September and then starts in September. So their Q1 earnings report was just yesterday, from September till first, day of January of February. Sorry, and so yesterday was a lot of breaking news from Bob Iger, who at the present time yesterday was still CEO of Disney. And so he was going around and to CNBC and the lot, letting everybody know what Disney's progress was over the Q1. And of course, as you know, if you are keeping up with the trades of the entertainment world, you will know that Disney had their biggest entertainment box office results in, I believe, 6 years it was. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I think it was their sixth biggest box office year in history. Not their biggest, their sixth biggest or of the like. But they were the highest grosser of all the studios in Hollywood last year. They had a total sum of, I believe, $6 billion, which was phenomenal across all their films, across all their studios, from Walt Disney Animation Studios, which of course was the highest grossing film of 2025 with Zootopia 2, which is now currently at $1.7 billion, and I believe is the 9th or 8th highest grossing movie of all time. It's phenomenal, by the way. I love it so much. It's easily my favorite Disney animated movie of this decade so far. And I am very pleased that that is the highest grossing film of 2025, because I think it is so really well made. Along with that, of course, is Avatar Fire and Ash, which is now, I believe, reaching just at the $1.4 billion mark, which is a success according to Disney. It's not officially according to Disney. I mean, it is under the radar, but they haven't greenlit Avatar 4, for example. But it is a resounding success nonetheless. Of course, yes, it's not going to reach that $2 billion mark as the first two Avatar movies did. But regardless, it is a massive success, and it's the second biggest movie of 2025. Along with that, they did not reach a lot of high success with box office wise with their Marvel Studios productions. I know off the top of my head, none of them really got to pass $550 million, which is not great at all. But they were two out of the three were really well received critically and audience wise, which is great. So you had Thunderbolts in May, and you had Fantastic Four First Steps in July, and both of those were really well received. And while they didn't really earn what they should have, I believe that they honestly did deserve a lot more. They still were a success in their own right, to a moderate degree, moderate success. Captain America Brave New World was not really a financial success from what I remember. And what else? According to their live action films, well, Snow White was did not do well for them. I'm trying to remember what else came out last year, live action wise. Does anyone else know in the chat here what else came out? I don't know why it paused. Sorry about that. But okay, I can't remember what else came out live action wise in from their films. Nothing else is coming. Was there another remake that came out? Lilo and Stitch. All right, there you go. How did I forget about Lilo and Stitch? Lilo and Stitch is the third highest grossing movie of 2025 at, I believe, 1.2 or $3 billion. So yes, that was another massive, massive success for the Walt Disney Company. So in short, their entertainment business side of things was really, really great in 2025, and that is what was reflected in their earnings call yesterday for the entire 2025 calendar year. And I think that it's a really great start to the year of 2026, entering the year on a high note for Disney. In years past, looking at 2023 and going into 2024 and looking at 2022 and going to 2023, there were a lot of films that did not turn around. There were a lot of projects that did not meet either expectations, box office wise or audience wise, and they just did not turn a profit for the studio. And so it was really detrimental to the company as a whole, because their business was suffering due to the lack of audience engagement and lack of success that they were, in all fairness, accustomed to in years prior. So this was a great bounce up in the right direction. Of course, they also had a great year in 2024 as well, with Deadpool and Wolverine as the highest grossing movie. Inside Out 2 was the highest grossing movie of that year, followed by Deadpool and Wolverine, both well over $1.4 billion. And so very, very high successes there. Also Moana 2, which crossed over the $1 billion mark that year as well. So 2024 was also their first really bounce back after their years that they were struggling in 2022 and 2023. So really it was 24 and 25 that after the COVID years, after the big shuffle, which we'll be talking about now with the CEOs, that now they've started to see that, okay, we're kind of finding our footing now again in the entertainment department, and we are doing well there. And we've got a bright future ahead this year in 2026 and next year with 2027 slate. So that was the entertainment side of things. Now, because we are talking about the Walt Disney Company as a whole and the CEO transitions and everything, I will also be covering not just the entertainment side, but the park side of things and the consumer side of things. So I'm going to talk about the parks next with Disney Parks and Cruise Lines. So Disney Parks and Cruise Lines, if you aren't familiar, Disney Parks, of course, encompasses Disneyland, Disneyland in Anaheim, California, Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, Disneyland Paris, Disneyland Hong Kong, Disneyland Shanghai, and what else am I forgetting? There's 6 Disneylands. Did I name all 6? I wasn't counting. I think that was all of them. So, and then of course, well, yes, there are cruise line departments, and there's also Disney Resort in Hawaii. So Disney Parks encompasses all of these branches, and it's a massive division, right? I mean, it goes without saying Disney Parks is a massive division, sometimes encompassing the entertainment side of things, depending on the year. And that is what Bob Iger was touching on yesterday during the call. I'm just going to pull that up to see what exactly he was saying, because what he was saying was really intriguing about that. But I do think that there are good things about the parks that have happened and some things that need improvement still. I'm going to touch on what recently just happened. That was amazing. Great decision on Bob Iger's part before leaving, along with Josh D'Amaro, who is now Disney's new CEO. So I will get into that now, but let's see here. This was yesterday. Okay, yeah. Bob Iger. I'm going to read some of the article and touch on some of the quotes here and everything, and then I'll give my thoughts on it. So Bob Iger, this is an article from Deadline. Deadline, if you're not familiar with it, is one of the famous Hollywood trades where you can get your breaking news from. So Bob Iger acknowledges rivalry between entertainment and parks to drive Disney profits. Says both have ability to grow nicely. That's really promising. You know what? Actually, before I even touch on that, I want to give you my feelings and sentiments about Bob Iger here, because I have his book obviously right here in front. I want to be very clear. I am and was, now that he is now retired, I was a very, very big fan of Bob Iger as the CEO of Disney. Bob Iger has been the CEO of Disney my entire life, since 2005. I am, of course, 2000 born, but, essentially my entire life for 20 years, he's been the CEO. And so he ran from 2005 all the way to 2020, so that was 15 years, which is why on the cover of this book, I know it is mirrored, but it does say lessons learned from 15 years as CEO of the Walt Disney Company. So he was CEO for 15 years, and then he retired in February of 2020, 6 years ago. Now that did not last, because their decision towards the new CEO was not well made. And everybody is very much knowledgeable and aware of that, especially Disney fans. Especially Disney fans and people in the entertainment industry really much know that was not a wise decision in the end. So the successor to Bob Iger in 2020 was Bob Chapek, another Bob. Bob Chapek, was the president of Disney Parks and Divisions at that time in 2020. So he was the president of that. Before Disney Parks, he was actually overseeing a lot of the DVD sales, a lot of the consumer sales. That's kind of the area he was in, consumer and finances in that area, in that department. And he was doing that as early as, I'm just going off the top of my head from what I know of, I believe the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm not 100% sure, but that's from what I recall. So he was in the company for quite some time. He had, a good grasp of a lot of different areas in it, primarily this consumer aspect of it. He only became head of the parks, I think, in his latter years with the company, before becoming CEO. And in 2020, it came as a real surprise, a real surprise when they picked Bob Chapek. Just because, when Iger was stepping down, he hadn't actually talked about his retirement in 2019 when this book was released. And he was going on and doing a lot of interviews in that fall period of time, and right before Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker was coming out. He was teasing, of course, I'll be retiring in, the short while. But not, next year or even in the next couple of months. That wasn't, from at least my recollection and for what I've gone back and seen in his interviews, he's ever really said. So it was interesting that, he made this decision where he said that, look, I'm going to pick Bob Chapek. Bob Chapek is going to be now the new current Disney CEO and take over the reins and run it freely. And so that shocked a lot of people, because to me, to everyone, we just didn't really know, is Mr. Chapek capable of running the entire Walt Disney Company as a whole, overseeing the entertainment division, overseeing the parks division, overseeing the consumer division, and overseeing all of it? Is he the right person to do it? Long story short, he was not. He made a lot of decisions that were, again, quite detrimental to the company. He really restructured a lot of the inner workings of the company, which did not allow for good growth to happen. 1 second. I just got a message from someone. 1 second. Oh, I can't respond to it, otherwise the live will end. But yeah, I did see the message. So anyways. He needed to oversee all these different divisions and departments. And so it just was not clear if he was capable of doing so, if he was competent in being able to oversee these divisions. And so he did a lot of restructuring. He made a lot of decisions, which as a consumer, you and viewer of Marvel movies, you might know. Marvel movies, Marvel shows, because one of the biggest complaints in the 2020s of this decade is how much Marvel project, I don't like to use the word content when we're talking about film and television, but I mean, I know a lot of people do use it, even within the business itself, but I'll use the word projects just because I think it's a lot more suitable. How many projects were being pumped out of Marvel Studios in particular? Because in 2020 they had a huge, there was nothing coming out at all in 2020 due to COVID, and they had pushed everything back into 2021 along with the shows, because even shows couldn't finish filming. So once WandaVision came out to start Phase 4 of the MCU in January of 2021, they then followed up with all the other shows with Falcon Winter Soldier and Loki, and then their film started out, and they had 4 movies come out in 2021. Now that was the most rare exception in Marvel Studios history. They have never in the past, they haven't since, and they won't ever. I mean, I won't say ever because you never know, but it's not in their plans to ever release 4 MCU movies in a year. And they didn't just do 4 MCU movies in a year, they did 4 MCU movies in the course of 5 months. Because they had Black Widow in July 2021, followed with Shang-Chi in September 2021, and Eternals, and then in November, and Spider-Man No Way Home in December. And 1 second, my background just disappeared. But, sorry about that. Just get my background back. But that was a very big exception, because they were just playing catch-up. And so it was not something that was normal. It's not a norm for Marvel to pump out 4 movies a year. And then followed up with 2022. 2022, they started releasing a lot of... Sorry, guys. 1 second. Oh my gosh. Just want my background, please. Just need my background. That's all I'm asking for. Alright, there we go. Need my Disney background. There. Perfect. In 2022, they then released with Moon Knight, with She-Hulk, and shows that I can't even remember that because I haven't even seen Moon Knight and She-Hulk yet, to be honest. But they released way too much, long story short, in such a small time and space for audience consumption that it became overwhelming. People didn't like it. And these were all the decisions that Bob Chapek made. He wanted Marvel to just pump out. And he even took away a lot of the creative liberty that Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has. He just took it away. He gave all the creative decisions he created a new branch, and I can't recall the exact term he called it, but it was something like Disney. I don't know. It was a very specific job. It was oversaw by a couple different people, of names I won't mention, but I'm aware of and familiar with. And so I was just very upset with the whole process. A lot of people were. Nobody liked what was going on. I knew it was a complete circus show over there, and nothing was going well. And Mr. Iger knew that. He was very closely paying attention. Of course, he was seeing all this. This was not at all the way he wanted to leave the Walt Disney Company, and the way he wanted it to be going into this new decade. And of course, it was an unprecedented time with COVID and the pandemic. It was a very unprecedented time with, their parks being closed for the first time ever in their history, all across the board, all across the world, for as long as they were. And so their revenue, all across the board, from movies to parks, was low, as it was every industry, right? I'm not just saying this was just Disney or entertainment, as was every industry. But we are talking about Disney here. So they really were in a rut. They were really in a position where, what do we do? Where do we go from here? And there was a lot of chit-chat and discussion going on within the shareholders about, I don't really think Chapek is steering us the right way. I don't think he's steering the ship in the direction we need to be going in with these, decisions that are very contradictory to what we've done in the past that have led to success, and also that we are hearing from our consumers and audiences. This is just not going the direction that we want it to. So in November of 2022, again, breaking news, to a big surprise, it was announced that Bob Iger was going to be getting out of retirement and returning to his position as Chief Executive Officer of the Walt Disney Company. And I was elated, overjoyed, over the moon, and so on. I was so relieved as a Disney fan, as a massive Disney diehard fan, that the company was finally going to be back in its original hands of the last 15 years. And I had full confidence in Bob Iger's capability and capacity, of course, that he was going to right the ship and that he was going to be able to get the company back on track. And that was why he was returning. He came back for a short time. His contract initially was only until end of 2024. So it was only 2 years. And so he was literally, the board and him all unanimously voted for him to come back, which was a relief. I'm so glad that he wanted to come back. He felt that responsibility of, I didn't pick the right guy. I'm not happy with the way things are going. And I feel like, Disney can't just go randomly pick another CEO and try again right now. The safest hands, the best bet is my own. The best bet is Mr. Iger's. And everyone across the board knew that, and they did that. They went full on and put their faith in Mr. Iger. Just the people who are here in the chat, I'm happy you guys are here, but let me know your thoughts on these, please, again. If you are a Disney fan, I know you guys are listening. There are some people in here. Let me know your thoughts on this. I would love to create a little discourse about this. But yes, I was tremendously happy. I was very, very elated about that. I even, went overjoyed and said, "Return of the King" and everything. And so I was very happy. And so he, again, was brought back in November 2022, immediately got to work, immediately got to shutting down the other restructuring divisions that Mr. Chapek put in place that were not working, that were being very detrimental to the company's health, to their revenue, to their audience and fan base. It was just not good. So he went and put an end to all those, restructured the company back to what it was originally, and repositioned their managers and presidents and overseers and all that. So he really put forth the emphasis of where he wanted the company to be, in 2 years' time, by the time he finishes. He wanted their film slate to improve. He wanted the parks to bounce back. He wanted the audience and fan engagement of Disney fans to be revitalized again, for their confidence to be brought back. And so it really took time for that to happen. It did take its time, but it did happen to a certain level. And so in I think it was mid 2024 or maybe early 24, it was announced that Iger's contract was extended. It was extended for another 2 years. Another year to December 2025. Scratch that. Yes, it was extended another 2 years to December 2026, this coming December. So that was great. I was even more overjoyed. I did feel bad for Mr. Iger, though, because, he is in his 70s and he's been working at this for 2 decades. And I did, feel like, wow, that's a lot of pressure on an individual like that. And I have great admiration and respect for him, for all that he's done for the company. And so that is what he was able to do. He was really able to come back, to revitalize things, to bring back a lot of good health to the film side of things, with spacing things out, with giving Kevin Feige back full creative control, with restructuring once again the inner workings of the different departments and studios, with bringing back some balance to the parks divisions, with helping out with all those, the consumer products. There were a lot of things in the last 6 years that have transpired within the Disney company that, of course, I'm not a particular fan of, and that is just my opinion. I'm not going to be biased and say that everything that, they did was for the best or that I liked. I don't think that, anyone really likes that. Even Mr. Iger himself always says, he would have loved to have received a feedback chart from Walt Disney himself, and because he knows that he wouldn't, score all perfect A's. So, there were some decisions there that I was not too pleased with as a Disney fan, as a consumer, and a lot of them being, of course, the cost of Disney parks. They have just shot up exponentially. A lot of that, of course, is due to the general inflation in the world itself, but at the same time, it's astronomical what it is, and it's really, really kind of out of reach, out of touch with what it used to be and what the idea of the Disney Parks division was always for fans, for Disney fans. And so that is still an area of work that, I would like to see improve as a Disney fan. It would be ideal. Will it happen? I don't know. The Disney Parks division has seen a lot of success, which I will touch here in a second from Mr. Iger. But and at the end of the day, that's what it is. It is a business. But you have to keep the values of the company, the values of what Walt Disney built it on at heart. And Mr. Iger has done that tenfold, 100-fold, in a lot of departments. I know a lot of people would argue, Raza, maybe not in this department, maybe not in that department. Again, I'm not being biased. I do agree that, of course, I think he did the best with what he could in a lot of areas, and a lot of and some areas needed a bit more work on them. But overall, I'm a massive admirer of what Bob Iger did for this company, and I just want to very much. I'm not saying he's watching this. He's not going to watch this, but I want to thank him for his contribution to being the shepherd and at the helm of this amazing magical company, the most fantastical and magical company on this planet, and for all that he was able to do for 2 decades. And I really do wish him a very, very superbly well-earned retirement. And it is, of course, in my dreams to meet him and, share this with him in person. Hopefully one day that'll happen. But moving on, he came on again. I'll just finish that thought. He came on again and really did restructure things, really did help out with all that. And the Disney Parks president, after Bob Chapek left, that role was given to Josh D'Amaro, who, again, was just announced as Disney's new CEO. So Josh D'Amaro was the president of Parks and Experiences, is what the title was. And so he was overseeing that for, I believe, the last 6 years. I believe he started once Mr. Chapek left. And so that is what he was doing. And so, again, all the decisions that Mr. D'Amaro was making within the parks, again, a lot of them great, some of them not so much, but more resounding success than what was in years before, which is what Mr. Iger touches on here now. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, so let's just touch on some quotes here. So Bob Iger said on Monday, I'm confident, the beginning of his quote was here, we have a healthy competition now in our company in terms of which of those two businesses, speaking on entertainment and Disney parks, which of those two businesses is going to essentially prevail as the number one driver of profitability. That's great. That is where Disney needs to be. That is where they want to be. They want to be at a point where they are literally toe-to-toe. They are toe-to-toe with their Disney Parks division and their film division, and they are wondering, who's gonna come out on top at the end of the fiscal year. Who's gonna be our biggest grosser. That's great. That's phenomenal in terms of business, in terms of what that means for how audiences are responding, how Disney fans are responding. That means that they are enjoying both divisions. That's phenomenal. That's what you want in the company. So that's really great. And that's what, and not just the company, but the fans. The fans want that. We want to be enjoying the parks. We want to be enjoying each movie that they release and each show. That is phenomenal. So he said, I'm confident that both have that ability, meaning both have the ability to grow nicely into the future, given all the investments that we've made and the trajectory that we're on. And the comments in response to a question asking him to assess the two core businesses come as the board could announce Iger's displacement as CEO as soon as this week, which they did today. Parks and Experiences Chief Josh D'Amaro is reportedly in pole position. Dana Walden, co-chair of Disney Entertainment, has also been considered a frontrunner. Here's another quote that Iger said that I want to touch on. If you go all the way back to 2005, when I became CEO, the return on invested capital in the theme parks and, whoa, don't go Bob, in the theme parks and resorts business was not impressive and actually not acceptable. And we also had not that much building in progress, meaning there wasn't much expansion. But maybe for good reason, because the return of invested capital was so low. Iger said, as we added IP to our stable, including, and here's, how can I not touch on this? In case you are not familiar, because Bob Iger has been running this company since 2005, all the studios Disney has accumulated, all the studios that Disney has been running as of today under Pixar Animation Studios, which was bought by Disney in 2006. Marvel Enterprises, which was bought by Disney in 2009. Lucasfilm, which was bought in 2012. And ultimately 20th Century Fox, which was bought in 2019. This is Bob Iger's legacy. This is his biggest legacy, and that is what he will be known and remembered for as his role in the CEO of Disney, is that he brought all these studios together under one umbrella, under the Walt Disney Company umbrella. That was the biggest success. So that is tremendous. I mean, the fact that he went and, brought these companies together, was able to consolidate them, which, in my point of view, for all these companies was the best decision. For Pixar, it was the best decision to be with Disney. For Marvel, it was the best decision to be with Disney. For Lucasfilm, it was the best decision to be with Disney. Now, yes, some of the movies, of course, were not great. And that's a different topic of discussion. But in terms of where Lucasfilm needed to reside for the foreseeable future, there really was, and only truly was, one right choice, and even George Lucas knew that. And I think he still knows that. And that was Disney. And that I still believe, I don't think that will change, just because if you look at anywhere else, I don't really think anyone else would have really been able to treat Lucasfilm with that respect. Now, yes, would I have liked Lucasfilm to remain independent? Now looking back in retrospect, maybe, but we won't get into that. That's a different topic of discussion. But in other news, along those lines, I will just say, because this is part of Iger's departure, 2-3 weeks ago, it was announced that Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy was also stepping down in her role, and she was being replaced with Dave Filoni, who has been, again, at the helm of a lot of the Star Wars projects and TV shows for a very, very long time. He was literally George Lucas's second man for a long time, right before George Lucas left. And he was, again, the producer who helmed the Clone Wars, who helmed Rebels, who did a lot of that stuff, and of course then went and made Mandalorian and everything. So he was now put in place for the president role in Lucasfilm. I think that was a very good decision before Mr. Iger left. The fact that he went and made sure that Lucasfilm was in its next stage, in its next form, was the best thing. I don't really think it would have been good if he just left without that change being made. So I was very happy to have seen that was put in place. And along those lines as well, because it's Lucasfilm, Star Wars, and Disney Parks alike, the other decision that they made, not groundbreaking in terms of a president change, but a great change for fans nonetheless, was the change that they were making to Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland. Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland, they are adding for the first time original trilogy characters. So that means Darth Vader, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker. These characters are finally, for the first time in that park's 6-year history, are finally, or 6-year? Did it open in 2017 or maybe 7-year? 7-year. I don't even know, that would make it 9 years. No, it opened in 2019, I think. Yeah, May 2019. So 6 years, now 7-year history of Galaxy's Edge that they will ever have been there. And so that is huge. That's phenomenal. Because if you're not familiar, oh, hey, Zach, finally, you're here. Here. Okay, wait, six and a half years. Yeah, thank you. Oh, you're great. 7 years this May. Thank you, man. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Yeah, 7 years this May is when Galaxy's Edge would have opened. So May 2019. I really have to restructure how many years back. Now that we're in 2026, I'm still in the process of knowing how many years back was 2019, 18, etc. But yes, great. Okay, so 7 years. So that's phenomenal. That's such a relief to Star Wars fans, because I know when I went to Galaxy's Edge, I've only been once, and I went in August 2024 when I went for D23. But I know when I was there, I felt really, I was disappointed. I was disappointed with quite a few different aspects, because I was like, while it was cool, while it was like, whoa, this is the first Star Wars land I've ever been in my entire life. This is amazing. I wanted to see those characters. I wanted to see those, the faces of Star Wars walk around. I'm like, why isn't Darth Vader here? Actually, on my trip, I didn't even see Kylo Ren. I know it was just probably the time and it didn't end up working where I saw him, but I didn't even see Kylo Ren. But anyways, Vader, why isn't he walking around? Luke Skywalker, the hero of Star Wars. Why? My dad was like, oh, we can't see Luke. I'm like, no, there's no Luke. There's no Luke. And I had to explain to him, like, well, they pigeonholed themselves to a certain timeline of taking place between episode 8 and 9 of the Skywalker saga, of Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. And I didn't really think that was the best decision. So I'm not going to go too much more into that, but I think that, the fact that they really did restructure that, they made a good decision with that. Again, this was all done with Iger and Mr. DeMauro right before these changes were being placed. They knew, okay, we got to do some course correction here before we start our new positions, or Mr. Iger leaves his position. So, continuing on with what Mr. Iger said here, we gained access to intellectual property, all the studios I mentioned, that had real value in terms of parks and resorts, and enabled us to lean into more capital spending because of the confidence level we had in improving returns on invested capital due to the popularity of that IP. And when you look at the footprint of the business today, it's never been more broad or more diverse, and the projects that we have underway are going to make it even more so. We're expanding in every place we operate, and additionally, having been in Abu Dhabi just 2 weeks ago, was reminded how great the potential is to build in that part of the world. Now, that's another sector that, of course, is going to be part of Mr. Iger's legacy, because he was CEO when that decision was being made to announce Disneyland in Abu Dhabi last year. And, of course, also part of Josh D'Amaro's legacy as Disney Parks president, because he, of course, made that call as well. And so this is really going to, spearhead their work together. And it's really going to come to fruition however many years it's going to take to build it at the end, where, and, of course, then we're talking, a decade away and everything, and by the time it's open and seeing audience and what is their attraction like there. But it's definitely going to be a part of both of their legacy and their decision. So I think that what Mr. Iger said here was very true, and I very much agreed upon it from what I read and how I felt as a Disney fan and a Disney consumer. I really did feel that they were putting themselves in the best position possible with the Disney divisions. Now, look, as for Disneyland opening a park in Abu Dhabi, I will be completely transparent. I don't really have a yes or a no kind of feeling about it. It could be great, and if it is, hopefully it is. That obviously that's what I want. I don't want it to suck, but I really don't have any kind of feeling towards it, I'll say. So I hope it's good. I hope they are investing. I don't know what it was, like $60 billion or something of the sort into that specific park, or maybe was that parks as a whole. I can't recall, and I can't find the exact number here, but it's a lot. It goes without saying. All right, moving on. So I touched on Mr. Iger's legacy. I touched on Josh D'Amaro as the Parks CEO, and I'm going to now touch on what was announced today, as now Josh D'Amaro has now officially become the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Well, it will be effective on March 18th of 2026 of this year. So, again, this is an article from Deadline. Disney Experiences chairman Josh D'Amaro has been elevated to CEO of the Walt Disney Company, capping a closely watched multi-year process of identifying Bob Iger's successor. Hello, we've got someone else who just joined in. Thanks for so much. And then second big announcement to happen today. Dana Walden, who was the Disney Entertainment co-chairman, has now been named President and Chief Creative Officer, which is a newly created role. There was not, I don't know entirely in the company's history, but at least in the last era of Mr. Iger running, there was no president and chief creative officer, according to what all the outlets are saying. So, obviously there was a CEO. I'm pretty sure there was, but I guess there was no president and CCO. So that's interesting. So Disney's board of directors voted unanimously on the moves, which were announced Tuesday, and will take effect at the company's annual meeting, March 18th. The board also intends to add D'Amaro to the board at the meeting. Of course they will, because he's the new CEO. Walden will report directly to D'Amaro. Bob Iger, is staying on as a senior advisor until the end of his current contract, which, again, his current contract was the one that was was extended. His previous contract was December 2024. It got extended to December 31st of this year, 2026. And then he will be surrendering the CEO title at the meeting on March 18th. So he will become just a senior advisor. That is all Mr. Iger will be, effective March 18th. Josh D'Amaro, this is a quote from Mr. Iger. Josh D'Amaro is an exceptional leader and the right person to become our next CEO, Iger said in the official announcement. I'm just going to move this a little centered, so my eyes are a little bit more centered. There we go. He has an instinctive appreciation of the Disney brand and a deep understanding of what resonates with our audiences, paired with the rigor and attention to detail required to deliver some of the most ambitious projects. His ability to combine creativity with operational excellence is exemplary, and I am thrilled for Josh and the company. Walden is an excellent leader who commands tremendous respect from the creative community. I know I haven't touched on who Dana Walden is. I'll do that right after the quote. Given that creativity is at the heart of everything Disney does, she is a wonderful choice to serve in this new leadership role. So, I'm very pleased with Mr. Iger's statements, because I do think that Josh D'Amaro was the best successor out of the options that at least the general public were aware of, which was actually D'Amaro and Dana Walden. They were the two frontrunners because they were within the studio, they were the higher-ups, and they were being looked at quite seriously for consideration of the successor to Mr. Iger. So I do think with Mr. D'Amaro, I should mention that he's been with the company since 1997. So I believe he said 28 years or something like that, 29 years. It's been, almost 3 decades. And so I think that's great. He's been a part of the company for a long time, and he's overseen the parks division. I'm not familiar with what his role was before he was president of the parks and experiences, but it's great. He's been a part of this company for that long. That's truly a good person to have at your helm moving forward. Now, that is to say that, of course, Mr. Chapek, Bob Chapek, before was also with the company for a long time, and that didn't turn out very well. But I think there's a very big delineation between the way Bob Chapek operated and the way Josh D'Amaro operated. Josh D'Amaro really, he was more of, from what I've heard, from what I've seen. I've actually seen, I should mention, I have seen both Josh D'Amaro and Bob Iger in person. I've not met them, but I've seen them in person about 20 feet away from me, 25 feet away from me, at D23 in Anaheim in 2024. I did see both of them. So I spent several hours with them in the same room, 20 to 25 feet away from me, which was phenomenal as a Disney fan. So, you know, Josh D'Amaro operated in a very different facet, in a very different medium than how Mr. Chapek operated. Mr. Chapek, from what I've read, from what I've heard, from what I've seen, was very much financial driven. He was not a creative guy. That's why before he became the president of the parks, he was overseeing the consumer products. And really just the numbers guy. You know what I'm saying by that? Really just the financial numbers guy. D'Amaro, on the other hand, has been quite a creative, thought-provoking person in the company. Along with, you know, a lot of the decisions that he made within the parks were a lot more creative than what Mr. Chapek did. Along with also that he really does... He doesn't really, I mean, to me as a Disney fan, in a, you know, unprofessional way of saying, it doesn't give me that vibe of we're going to put creativity second and look at the numbers first. He doesn't give me that vibe, which is great, which is the way we want it to be. And that is exactly what here Mr. Iger also says. He says, given that creativity is at the heart of everything Disney does, she is a wonderful choice to serve in this new leadership role. And I just also read earlier today a quote from previous CEO of Disney before Mr. Iger, who was Michael Eisner. He came in on Twitter and said his comments about Josh D'Amaro and said that he was passing on his same words of wisdom that he gave to Iger 20 years ago, that, you know, let creativity, I'm just paraphrasing, I'm not saying the exact quote, but let creativity dictate the financial aspect, right? You know what? I'm going to pull it up quickly. Let's see if I can pull it up quickly. But basically, Michael Eisner, Twitter. Was it on Twitter? He hasn't tweeted on Twitter for so long. Okay, maybe it wasn't Twitter. Let's see, news. Alright, yeah, here we are. Okay, so his quote was, "My advice to Josh D'Amaro is to continue Bob Iger's strategy that creativity will handle profits. Always protect the brand and keep close the words of Walt Disney. We love to entertain kings and queens, but the vital thing to remember is this: every guest receives the VIP treatment. Every guest receives the VIP treatment." This is vital. This is essential to what the Disney company needs to retain. This is literally what the Walt Disney Company needs to always be about. They need to always remember that creativity will handle profits. It's not the other way around. You do not put forward what's going to make, you know, the quickest turnaround. What's going to be the going to shoot revenue through the roof, but not be the best product. And again, Mr. Iger did a lot of greatness in that department. I would argue more good than bad. Yes, more on the lesser side with Lucasfilm, in their film department, just because of the decisions that were made. But ultimately, again, that's more of a complex decision. I don't want to go into it too much here because it's a separate discussion. But ultimately, my stance on that for Lucasfilm is, yes, of course, he was at the head. Yes, of course, he called a lot of the decisions towards that. But ultimately, it was a group. It was a group thing. It was more, you know, Kathleen Kennedy's calls. It was also the writers and everybody else involved in Lucasfilm. So anyways, I really like Michael Eisner's quote here. I think that I've already said I completely agree with it. I'm very happy that that's what he said to Josh D'Amaro. And I very much hope that Mr. D'Amaro follows through on that. That Mr. D'Amaro respects that this is the the motto of the Walt Disney Company, that we need to put every guest, every audience member, treat them the same level of importance. Everyone is a VIP. Because those were Walt's words. Those were Walt Disney's words. So, moving on to the next article. We are not going to be doing this for too much longer, I don't think, because I'm touching on almost everything I want to say about it. But we talked about that. Again, let me know your guys' thoughts on this. Let me know. Okay. Here is a bit more about Dana Walden, because I haven't really touched on her. So, from what I know, again, Dana Walden, I've really only come to read about her over the last month. I did a lot of Disney history in January, just out of fun, honestly. I wasn't expecting this announcement to come in February. I really wasn't, but it helped in that sense. I was watching a lot of Bob Iger interviews. I watched a little bit of Dana Walden interviews, and so I'm just kind of in that mode as well mentally. So it's really helping me. So. Dana Walden, from what I'm not reading anything off of this, I'm just going off of my recollection right now. But Dana Walden, she was a executive head at Fox, at 20th Century Fox, long before Disney bought the company and everything. And she oversaw a lot of the television side. She was a big executive over there, greenlit a lot of shows from what I'm aware of. And so she is very much well known within the industry, within a lot of the actors, filmmakers, and the like, and that's very good. That's great. It's good that people know who she is and that they are familiar with her work ethic and how well praised she is within the company already. So once she was brought on board to Disney, I'm not familiar with how long she was a part of Disney. Let me just see if I can quickly research that. Dana Walden. Disney. When did you start? Start. Okay. So she was with Fox. She was completely with Fox up until Disney acquired Fox in 2019. That is when she became part of the Walt Disney Company. Okay. And so that is interesting. So she then became the co-chair, is what her title was, for I guess the last 6 years. That's probably what she was doing. She was the co-chair of the Walt Disney Company, and so she oversaw again a lot of the business side of things. And was one of the higher ups, was basically, second to Mr. Iger. So, she was, again, in the front runnings to become the next CEO. That she did receive a very high position. She received a new position, as they alluded to earlier. They said that she is the president. And what was the official title? President... where did it go? Sorry about that. She was the entertainment co-chairman. That's what she was. Now she's the president and chief creative officer. Okay, newly created role. So she oversaw a lot of the film department, again, was overseeing a lot of that with Alan Bergman, who is the Disney Studios president. And so she was basically moved from Fox to Disney and was doing that for the last 6 years. Now she's been elevated to this position. So what does that mean going forward? Josh D'Amaro is now the next CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Dana Walden is now the I keep blanking on her title. Forgive me. President and Chief Creative Officer. It's very easy to remember. She's the president, Chief Creative Officer. So that's what her position is, and so the way that everyone is looking at this, the outlets and Disney fans alike, we're now looking at this as, Disney is being led not entirely by two people, but very much more like with two people, because beforehand it was only Iger. It was one individual who was guiding the way for the longest time. And before Mr. Iger, with Michael Eisner, there was another duo. It was Michael Eisner and I just watched a documentary about this last month as well. Phenomenal documentary. Walt. It's on Disney Plus. It's called Wake Up Sleeping Beauty. Waking Sleeping Beauty. Sorry, Waking Sleeping Beauty. Phenomenal documentary. If you like the Disney Renaissance period, Disney Renaissance, again, if you're not familiar, is the movies from The Little Mermaid all the way until Tarzan. So all the movies within there, all the late 80s to 90s Disney animated features. He was the president at that time. And Michael Eisner partner at Disney was Frank Wells, right? Frank Wells, who unfortunately passed away in a very tragic accident during his time as the as the COO. See, there was a chief operating. Oh, that's chief operating officer, right? What is Walden now again? Chief creative officer. Okay, so yeah, different roles, but yes. Anyways, so Michael Eisner and Frank Wells were really a duo for the longest time in their tenure for the Walt Disney Company, and so now what people are seeing is that this really does feel like it feels like another version of that. We're getting another two-parter. We're getting another not two-parter. That's the wrong word. Duo. That's the word I'm looking for. We're getting another duo to lead this company forward, and who better than for it to be Josh D'Amaro and Dana Walden. I really do think that these two are probably the best people to do this. Now, Dana Walden is now jumping quite a bit from going from an executive to, but again, she was overseeing the film division for the last 6 years, so that was a high role already. But now she is going to the president and CCO of the entire company. So it is going to be, it's new. It's completely new. She was a, television executive and now going into this role. That's not unlike what, all these other CEOs and presidents have been like. Michael Eisner was, I can't recall what he was, but he was not in this spectrum before. Bob Iger he started out as a weather reporter on ABC. That's where he started with the Walt Disney Company, was with ABC. I mean, it was before Disney owned ABC, but he was a weather man on ABC. And so, everyone has different backgrounds, everyone has different experiences, but it's what can they bring forward to the company? What can they bring now that they've been given these positions and these roles? What are they able to do in those new roles for the company, for audiences, for consumers? And it's not been announced to my knowledge. I've been paying attention to these stories the entire day. It's not been announced to my knowledge who is going to be replacing Mr. D'Amaro as the parks president. I'm sure that will be announced at least in the coming weeks, or maybe once. Maybe I'm not sure who will make that decision. If Mr. Iger will be part of that decision, I would assume so. Mr. Iger, I don't think is going to leave before they elect a new president of the parks division. It will be a joint decision between him and Josh D'Amaro, I'm pretty sure. But Josh D'Amaro, again, now, my opinion on him, I really do think he's a likable guy, which I think is, first and foremost, like, you have to be competent in this role. That goes without saying, right? You have to be competent in this role. You're the leader, the commander of the biggest entertainment company in the world. That's Disney. You are the face of it. You have to be, and that is a role that Bob Chapek didn't understand. Actually, I didn't touch on that. Bob Chapek didn't respect that. He wouldn't show up at movie premieres. He wouldn't show a lot of good, genuine engagement with fans. And it didn't come across, that he cared about that. I would pay very close attention to these things. And this was not, again, something that I'm just saying. This was, you look it up, you read what other people were saying as well. They notice these things as well. Which is, again, I'm pretty sure the Disney shareholders, the Disney board members, they all noticed these things. Mr. Iger. That's why they weren't, too fond of him in that role. And so, to be the CEO of Disney, it's not just important. It is essential. It is absolutely critical that you have obviously a competent ability to take on this role of overseeing such a large company with so many different facets, with so many different areas of departments of business. Like parks to business is not the same as movie to business. And that's another thing. I keep remembering things. That's another thing that Mr. Chapek didn't understand. He was treating the movie business kind of like the parks business and like a consumer thing. And it wasn't that you can't do that. They're very separate, and you have to respect that. You have to respect the differences between the parks, between the movies, between consumer products, between all the other divisions that are under Disney. And so, and on top of that, which I was adding on to, aside from being competent, you have to be presentable. By presentable, I mean you have to be caring, visibly caring about this role. You have to be showing that you want to listen to fans. You want to listen to audiences. You will take in their feedback at the parks, at their consumer products, and all across the board. You really do have to put on that. I shouldn't say put on. You have to be that. You have to be that. You have to be that person who is going to put each guest first, as they said, right? Walt's quote is, "Every guest is a VIP." Every guest. There's no exception. That can't be forgotten. And I just watched the interview. There was an interview conducted tonight at the Walt Disney Theater in Burbank, California, with Mr. Iger and Mr. DeMauro with ABC. You can watch that online. But Mr. DeMauro very much emphasized that he of course has been in the parks as the president for the last 6 or 7 years. He has been there with fans. He is engaged with them. He has attended events. He knows. He's been right there communicating with them. He knows what that's like, the importance of the Disney brand, the Disney company, to these people. So, I really do feel confident that they have made the best decision. I'd also like to just mention that there was another change that was done. I can't remember. I think it was 2024 it was done. Either 2024 or early 25, where they appointed a new president of Walt Disney Animation Studios. And that was the director. I'm just going to pull up the name. But that's the director of Zootopia 2. Zootopia 2. Director. Yeah, Jared Bush. Jared Bush is the President and Chief Creative Officer of Walt Disney Animation Studios since 2024. Okay. So, again, I also got to see him from a distance. Actually, he was quite close. He was like maybe 10 feet away. I got to see him at D23. And so he took over from Jennifer Lee, who is the director of the Frozen movies. She's still director of Frozen 3. They just released a picture of her and Josh Gad yesterday, starting voice recording and production on that, which is great. But Jared Bush, the director of Zootopia 2, he also directed... What else did he direct? Encanto. Okay, Encanto and Zootopia 2, then he wrote a lot of the others, and anyways. So, that's another change that was only done like a year and a half ago. So there's a lot of new roles within Disney. Ultimately, The only one that is staying, and that has stayed since the beginning, and is going to continue staying on for the foreseeable future, and I really honestly never want to see it change ever, is Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is, from what I am gathering, the last remaining high executive at the Walt Disney Company in terms of the entertainment divisions. Because even the Disney Studios president before Alan Bergman stepped on, his name was Alan Horn. It was another Alan. Alans, Bobs, they're always switching each other up. But it was Alan Horn. Alan Horn ran the Disney Studios for a large number of years, and I think it was only maybe 2 years ago, again, same time, that Alan Bergman took over because Mr. Horn retired. So, this is really, what I'm trying to get at here, this is really the next chapter of the Walt Disney Company, starting effective March 18th. Or you could say today as well, because this is the beginning of it. But it really is exciting. It really is intriguing and interesting as a Disney fan what this future is going to look like. Because we've been accustomed to the same people in charge for so long. And while that has been great, and that also, there's been some rocky areas too, a change does need to happen now. It's time. It's definitely a good time and place to do it. And that is a quote that Mr. Iger said as well. I did want to read that today. I just remembered that of why Mr. Iger was deciding to do that now. Is it here though? Can I find it? Oh, okay. So I'll also say Josh D'Amaro is 54 years old, so he's about the same age as Mr. Iger was when he took on the role as well, which is good. Yes, Alan Bergman will stay on as co-chairman of Disney Entertainment. And can I find that quote? I don't know. I don't see it. I guess I'll have to paraphrase. But Mr. Iger said that basically, like, as he said yesterday in the Q1's earnings, that he was very pleased with where Disney is, where he got them from when he returned in November 2022 to where they are at now, with having their biggest box office year, I believe, of the entire 2020 so far, phenomenal, with $6.5 billion grosses, and then with the parks division doing really well. And with the announcement of Disneyland Abu Dhabi and all the other forthcoming ventures, these are all great things. These are all very exciting and promising things. So he felt that this was the right time to make this transition. Now, I will be quite honest. I do very much wish that Mr. Iger was staying on as CEO all the way till December 31st. It just would have been nice, and of course he would have appointed. He would have announced Mr. D'Amaro as the next CEO, maybe in the next couple months. But it's okay. It's okay. Mr. Iger is still staying on as a senior advisor. I will, of course, very much miss him being a part of this company. In any shape or form, he will for life always be a shareholder. But it's some, not that that's relevant into creative decisions, but it's a big change. It's a big change. I'll also just say that my history with Mr. Iger is I came to know about him really in 2013. So it's been 12 years now, because that was at the end of 2013. But I actually did a project on not about him, but it was kind of incorporating him in. We did a project in grade 8, and it was about Walt. It was about we had to choose a historical figure to basically what would they what would they see in this present day of their legacy, like what would that be? So it was basically Walt Disney and Bob Iger conversing and having discussions, and so I got to play Walt Disney. It was a play that we were making, and so I got to play Walt Disney. A friend of mine played Bob Iger, and that's the first time I got to know about Bob Iger. So that's just the history. I was 12 years old and or 13 years old, and it was a lot of fun. So basically, since then, I was really into Mr. Iger's work and everything. But the fact that he's of course been at the helm of the company since I was 4 years old is absolutely wonderful and was wonderful. So I think that about does it. There was another headline here about Dana Walden. That it was news that broke a little bit later in the day. Dana Walden expands oversight to film in new role as media glass ceiling remains intact. I didn't actually read this article. It is a lengthy one, so I won't read it. But I think I've said pretty much all that I wanted to say anyways about it. And this is all very exciting. There's Josh Tomorrow here says that, I'm ready for the challenge. I should read a quote at least from tomorrow. I haven't done that. So here he said, I've had the great benefit and the great honor of working with Bob Iger for all those years. First from a distance, this is from the interview that he did tonight. First from a distance and much more up close and personal. And I've watched probably the best of the best balance those two things. Yeah, absolutely did. As Bob talks about being close to the fans and the guests, which is what I was saying, this is something that's important to me. I spend a lot of time in our beloved parks that hundreds of millions of people enjoy every year, and I see firsthand the importance of the brand, what Disney means to them, what it means to these families. And when you feel that and you understand the legacy of this place and the fact that you need to keep pushing forward and being innovative, I think I'm ready for that challenge. Phenomenal. Great. I think he is too. I really do believe he is too. Okay, there is a big topic here that I haven't discussed that I'll probably save for later. I'll just quickly dash on it. AI. Disney invested $1 billion in Sora AI, a company named Sora AI, in November of 2025. This is the decision that I won't, again, delve into too much here, but it's not one that I'm particularly, keen on. Not one that I'm very, I'm quite anxious on, to be quite frank. So it is something that I am quite trepidatious about. I really don't know how it's going to go, because what they're trying to do is incorporate Sora AI into Disney Plus and let consumers create max 30-second shorts, but they're all AI, I don't know. I know that, AI, a lot of it is in the future, but that's a whole separate discussion, and we won't go into that right now, because I've been doing this for quite long enough. So, again, a lot of good things that need to be improvement and everything, but ultimately, there's a lot of promise to be had here. There's a lot of good promise, good future within Disney, and how this is going to have a really good reflection on the entertainment industry as a whole. Disney is at the forefront of the entertainment industry. Make no mistake about that. So the way that Disney carries themselves, the way that Disney makes their calls, makes their decisions, succeeds or fails, really does dictate a lot about the future of the entertainment industry. And the future of all the IPs, of all the future original IPs, which is, again, another important part. I'll just quickly say that Josh Tomorrow needs to make sure that he puts emphasis on originality, right? It's always important to be original. Again, a motto that Walt followed, a motto that Mr. Eisner and Iger followed through on as well, was to be innovative. But not, and that's something that Mr. Iger touches quite a lot in his book, to be innovative enough that you push the boundaries of what you have done in the company, but not to the point that you lose your heart, your main, the main structure of Disney. And so that is essential. Again, another critical, essential component. You got to be creative. You got to be innovative, and you got to take risks. And in the interview, Mr. Tomorrow said that he is willing to take risks, as Mr. Iger has done as well. So, again, a lot of promise here, a lot of good things. I'm very pleased with all of it, and I'm very excited to see what is to come within the Walt Disney Company. I very much, again, as I said and alluded to earlier, I very much hope to meet Mr. Bob Iger. It would be ideal before he retires, but at the end of the year. But that would be the best scenario, because I would like to meet him within the confines of Disney. But it's something that I'm very pleased about, that they've made this decision. I'm very pleased with the fact that they are confident in it. That gives the audience and Disney fans confidence as well, that we are in good hands, that the future of Disney is in good hands. A company that we so very much admire is going to be taken care of. And of course, the future of that will be dictated based on their decisions, based on their actions going forward. And we will only be able to weigh that within, a year. Really, truly within the first year is when you will be able to. Of course, you'll start seeing the first decisions being made within the first half year. And a lot of that will be kind of come to fruition and come to audience's knowledge by August, which is when D23 2026 will roll around. And it will be very interesting to see at that point in time when Josh D'Amaro steps on stage as the new CEO. Of course, it will be a resounding audience applause, as was, by the way, I would like to mention, when the very first night of D23, during the Entertainment Showcase panel, Bob Iger returned as Disney CEO. This was his first time as the CEO of Disney back since he had left. And it was like the return of the king at that moment. There was, I don't even know how many people, 70,000 or 50,000. That's way too big. I'm tired. There were at least 10,000, 12,000 people in attendance at the Anaheim Stadium there, and everyone was just cheering. It was a standing ovation for Mr. Iger to be back. He was very emotional. He was quite taken aback, and it was quite a moment to be there. Yeah. In all honesty, as a fan of his, as an admirer of his, to be present there, again, only 20 to 25 feet away from him, and be in that atmosphere of welcoming him back to this position of CEO, and to essentially at that point in time also thank him for all the work that he had done in the year and a half as he had returned, was tremendous, was a joy. It was a real joy. And I was hoping that he was gonna, again, as I said before, that he was gonna stay on as CEO till the end of the year, and that he was again gonna be there at D23. I still hope he will be. I really do. But it will be Josh D'Amaro who does do that first step out on that first night, and I do look forward to congratulating him and being a part of that environment where everybody is welcoming and ushering in the new CEO of the company. That will be very exciting. And Dana Walden, again, too. Like I'm very interested into getting to know her position more. I'm very interested into learning more about her. Again, I'm not as familiar with her as I am with Josh D'Amaro. But I look forward to what her new position as chief creative officer and president is going to entail. I think that it's going to be. I do think it's going to be quite akin to what Michael Eisner and sorry, just going to get my background back again before we end off. Come on, YouTube, work with me. I do think it's going to be very familiar to what Michael Eisner and Frank Wells were like in their partnership and leadership of the company. So I look forward to that. I very much do. And that is all. I will conclude that now. So thank you so much for joining. I really do hope that you found this either insightful or you wanted to hear someone else's opinions on it. And if you are a Disney fan, that you were excited with the news today, I very much look forward to talking about the new decisions that are going to be made to come, and the new, really the new positions of these individuals in these roles, and what what this is going to look like for the future of Disney as we start to see their decisions in the months to come. And I'm very excited for the future of Disney. I really do believe that it is in great hands. Again, I want to thank Bob Iger for everything that he did for the Walt Disney Company. I'm tremendously grateful, as he has been the leader of the company my entire life, essentially. And so I am very pleased with this decision. It's a very groundbreaking day today. It's a very humongous day in the world of Disney and the entertainment world. And so I shouldn't even just say the entertainment world, in, the business world. And so, because Disney is not just an entertainment company, it's a business. And I'm very excited for the future of the Walt Disney Company. And best of luck to Dana Walden and Josh D'Amaro on their new roles. I really, really do wish them all the best. And I hope that they enjoy it. I hope that they, make great decisions and excite us. And that's all that I can ask for. That's all that I think we look forward to receiving as audience members and as fans and as guests. So thank you all again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next time I do a live stream. Again, please subscribe to my YouTube at The Reza Hyder there, and hopefully we'll be able to do some more live streams there in the future. And you can also follow me at The Reza Hyder on Instagram. This is my Film Hyderspace account, of course, but you can also follow me on there too for a lot of film takes and such that I do there. So without further ado, I will bid you all good night. And thank you so much for coming into this live. And have a good night, everyone. Or a good day, wherever you are in the world. Thank you.